Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Everybody Wants England. And of course, tonight we're going to cover three more Robert Englund films. Um, we've got The Fifth Floor, The Ordeal of Patty Hearst, and Mind Over Murder tonight. The first one, Fifth Floor, was from 1978. The final two were from 1979. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what we're going to be covering next week. Hey, Super Batman Nerd. Next week's films will be California Fever from 79, Dead and Buried, and Galaxy of Terror, both from 1981. And I've seen Dead and Buried. I've never seen Galaxy of Terror. So this is going to be, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Galaxy of Terror. So this could be my first time ever watching it. And of course, I've never seen California Fever as well. But I am a huge fan of Dead and Buried. I think that's a great film. I did a watch along for it and all of that. But I will talk more about that next Tuesday. But just as a little reminder, I do have several t-shirt designs available on the T Public store. Let me just share that with you in case you feel compelled to go on T Public. They're not having a t-shirt sale right now, but they are having a sale where if you buy several stickers and or magnets, you can save 25% off. So go on over, and if you want to get some stickers and magnets now you can save. What is it Steve always says to me? He says the more you spend, the more you save, or something like that. And I guess that might be true in this case. But so I just want to remind everybody of that. I'm not going to sit here and show you all the designs again. I haven't put any new designs since the Nightmare on Elm Street / Freddy birthday bash shirt that I created for the last midday with Dana and Jay that we did. But if you haven't picked up a shirt and you're interested in doing it, or even if you don't want a shirt, if you want a mug or a tumbler or a pillow or some wall art or something with one of these images on it, feel free to hop on over there and check out what's there. And hopefully I'll be able to put some new designs up there. I've got 2 or 3 designs rolling around in my head now. I just haven't been able to make them a reality yet. Okay. And the commercials are coming, I know TJ, he was going to have some dental work. I think he's got something else going on, hence him not being able to do the horror on TV episode with me tomorrow night. But in its place, we're going to have a TMI 2 show. And it's going to be me, Jay, and Jay's sister, Kathy. So it's going to be a triple threat TMI show. I'm really looking forward to it because the first TMI show, believe it or not, was very, very popular. I didn't know exactly how popular it was going to be. Now, for some reason, it's not as popular as the watch along for the movie Mask that I did. That still, blows my mind. So I just don't know what makes people want to keep going after that. I think that's got like 7,000 views on it. However, the the first TMI show has over 700 views on it. And so when I get the commercial for the original TMI show put together, and that's including TJ's part in it, he's supposed to put me a little clip together that I can add to the commercial. Hopefully that'll get us a few more views on the original TMI show. So you can look forward to TMI 2 tomorrow night. starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. And you can join me, Jay, and Kathy as we tell more TMI stories. Okay. So Thursday, I will be doing another triple threat review show for Seductive Poison: The Resurgence. And I'm going to be talking about Bad Dreams, Visiting Hours, and the Atticus Institute. So for those of you that missed me talking about that before, you're going to hear about it again. I'll try to spice it up a little bit more, or present it in a different way so it doesn't get boring. Friday, of course, will be another midday with Dana and Jay. And keep in mind, I'm going to pimp out these t-shirts again. You can pick up your own midday with Dana and Jay shirt right now from TeePublic. It is a double-sided shirt, so it is $26. But again, if you like the design, but you don't necessarily want to buy a shirt, now keep in mind that you only get the front side of it on something. If you want to make sure you get Steve's face superimposed on Danny Torrance, there is a shirt design which can be duplicated on a mug or whatever, that says Little Stevie Torrance and has um, Steve can't wake up, Mrs. Torrance on there. So if you want to have both designs and you don't want to get a t-shirt, if you want to get a mug, for instance, you can buy 2 mugs if you want to. For for about $15 a piece. So for a little bit more than the actual midday with Dana and Jay shirt, you can get you 2 mugs. Unfortunately, that's how they do it. So Saturday and Sunday, we got another movie munchies coming up. Plus, we have a couple of watch-alongs. So let's talk about what those watch-alongs are going to be. So we've got for Saturday, February 24th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. Followed on Sunday, February 25th, also at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be Play Misty for Me, the Clint Eastwood vehicle. If you've not seen either one of these films, you are in for a real treat. Some of you may think more a treat for Play Misty for Me. And the movie Munchies for Sunday, starting around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. This is another one that Jay suggested, which will be You're Going to Need a Bigger Zucchini Boat, which is Jaws inspired. So be sure to tune in for all of that upcoming. I'm really excited about all the new stuff that's floating around. And, who knows what I'll dig up in the future. I got several more weeks of several more weeks of Everybody Wants England and several more weeks of Stephen's Kingdom, talking about the Stephen King film adaptations. I'm sure the Robert Englund stuff will go on quite a bit longer. And I'm about to have an influx of dogs coming through here, so permit me to make sure they get let out. I think Steve got a package in as well, so that's probably why the dogs got let loose. But let's see. Oh, I was going to say I'll probably be doing the Everybody Wants England still by the time that I actually get to meet Robert Englund at Horror Hound in September, which, I pray that he does not have to cancel for any reason. So let's go ahead and get started with these movies. And of course, I'm going to be using the Deadites rating scale tonight to rate these movies, both on the movie itself and also Robert Englund's performance in the film. Darcy. So we'll get started and talk about 1978's The Fifth Floor. And The Fifth Floor, when I saw the title, I was not familiar with the title at all. I think there's a more recent movie, and by recent I mean in the last several years, movie called The Fifth Floor. But this is Fifth Floor from 1978. You can watch it on Plex if you'd like to. It's a pretty decent transfer. Um, I don't believe this was a made for TV movie because I thought there was some nudity in it, but I could be wrong. So Diane Hull, who, for those of you that have seen Christmas Evil, she played Harry's brother's wife in Christmas Evil. So I was like, when I first saw her, because she's pretty much the star of the film. When I saw her, I was like, I know her. Where have I seen Diane Hull? And then it came to me, oh, Christmas Evil, which wasn't until maybe a couple years later. So anyway, Diane Hull plays a disco dancer in this nightclub who gets poisoned by someone at the club that's not meaning to poison her. He's meaning to poison someone else. And so strychnine gets put in the drink and she drinks it. She collapses and has a seizure on the dance floor. They take her boyfriend takes her to the hospital. The doctor says, this appears to be a suicide attempt. And he asks the boyfriend, has she ever done anything like this before? And she's trying to tell him, I didn't commit suicide or try to commit suicide. Somebody poisoned me. And, they're not listening. And so the doctor convinces the boyfriend that she needs to be committed to the fifth floor, which is the psychiatric floor of this hospital. So they're only planning on having her there, I guess, like under observation for a short amount of time, which, as many things transpire, she ends up, I'm sorry, I'm yawning just like I was yawning last night. I took another little cat nap, so apologies for that. Um, so she ends up staying on the fifth floor a lot longer than she had intended. So, in addition to Robert Englund as one of the mental patients in this movie, he plays Benny, and very, very sensitive, somebody you can relate to and stuff. Doesn't go bonkers or anything like that in the film, um, which several of them don't go just bonkers in it. There's one character, a Melanie, who looks. I thought it was Farrah Fawcett at first because it looked just like Farrah Fawcett, but it's Sharon Farrell from the It's Alive movie. And I didn't even think about, that being Sharon Farrell from It's Alive. Um, but she is probably the one of the most damaged of the patients on the fifth floor. Hey, Blissful. Um, Sir Raymond Nerdy said, that's okay, Dad. I took many cat naps early. Actually, I've taken 2 cat naps today. I took one during my morning break at work. I may have to grab some candy again. I'm not sure, just to be on the safe side. Actually, let me go do that. I will return. Hi, Michelle. Um, so, in addition to the people I've already mentioned in this movie, we also have the lady that played Large Marge in the Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which I was told this, but I cannot remember, which one she was in. But Large Marge plays one of the patients. Um, Michael Berryman is seen a few times in the background. He has no lines. He's just in the background as one of the patients. And I saw him. I was like, dang, I think that's Michael Berryman. Yeah, it's Michael Berryman. So you get to see all these people in here. Bo Hopkins plays a really sleazy orderly who likes to mess around with the female mental patients because his theory is, which would probably work, and it works in this film, is all he's got to do is say, they're crazy. If they say he tried to rape me, which Diane Hull's character of Kelly does say at one point, he does try to rape her in the shower. And she tells everybody, he tried to rape me in the shower. And he's like, she's crazy. She's delusional. So you've got all these people making a really, in my opinion, powerful film that says a lot probably about the state of mental health and how it was how mental illness was treated back in 78. And I'm sure it hadn't gotten much better. Maybe a little bit better, but not by much. Um, so you got the sleazy orderly who wants to mess around with the women patients, the young, ones that he thinks are attractive and all that. And we have Kelly, who's the very opposite of the people that run the mental ward. Okay. The nurses and even the doctor, who seems sort of kindly, but he still doesn't listen to Kelly when she tells him, this stuff is going on. So she tries to make things better for the patients there. She teaches them how to dance, and there's a very um, uplifting scene where she's dancing with the patients, and we see Robert Englund. He's got a Mickey Mouse shirt on, and he's, dancing along. It's just fantastic. There's actually a couple of scenes where they do a dance routine, and but then there are other parts that are very, very dark, including, and spoiler alert. So if you don't want to hear this, I'll give you a few seconds to plug your ears or whatever. But okay, here it goes. Sharon Farrell's character, Melanie, like I said, she's the one that is the most damaged, and I think the most disturbed, really, of the main cast. And she goes through periods of depression. There's one scene where she tries to kill herself with a bunch of pills. Kelly saves her. But somehow that she's not really going to make it through the entire film. And, you know, Bo Hopkins' character has been, you know, he says things like he says to all of them, you're never going to get out of here. You're going to this, that, and it just tortures them. And for somebody as damaged as Melanie, that just takes root in her and destroys her essentially. And so at a point near the last, I'd say, quarter of the film, they're all, dancing and having a good time. It's like the second dance routine. And Kelly notices that Melanie's not there with them anymore. And so she walks down the hallway, and I thought, she's I knew she's going to find her dead, but I was very shocked at the way that Melanie took her own life, and it's by hanging. So we see Kelly scream and look up, and we can see the lower half of Melanie's legs, and then we see her face, and we see that she's hung herself. And that another awful thing that they do to them is electroshock therapy, which I've seen this shown in a lot of movies, including One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and this movie, and several other movies where they do electroshock. And electroshock was a thing at one time. It was used to treat a lot of mental illnesses, from depression to, I guess, psychosis and schizophrenia and all kinds of things. And that treatment seems to me to be one of the most inhumane treatments, just a little step down from a lobotomy. Because it's just terrible. It's terrible the way they do it. And so Melanie had a lot of that done. So that was obviously not helping her. In fact, it probably made things worse for her. Later on in the film, they do a lot of electroshock on Kelly, um, because Kelly figures that, Coco, you say you believe that treatment is still used, which just, it gives me shivers. It absolutely gives me shivers thinking about it. And once you're in a place like that, usually you are at the mercy of whatever these doctors and nurses and orderlies or whatever want to do to you. Um, so you can tell I'm not a big fan of mental health facilities, and I've never even been in one. Um, so Kelly decides, I'm never going to get out of here unless I escape. So she enlists Benny's help and one of the other patients' help, and I'm trying to remember the girl's name, but the other girl is pregnant, and they're going to make her give up her baby. And there's one scene where Kelly is basically telling her, you can keep your baby. You don't have to give up your baby. And a nurse comes over to Kelly and says, don't be talking to her about keeping her baby. She can't keep her baby. She is not mentally sound enough. So please don't do that. Um, so Kelly does manage to escape with both Benny and the other girl. And it's very harrowing, and they steal an ambulance, and then Bo Hopkins' character takes out after them, and the cops get in on things, and basically what Kelly tells Benny to do is drive the car, get away, get him and the other girl away, and she kisses him on the cheek, and they leave, and I guess they get away because you don't see them anymore. And so Kelly runs, and she gets caught by the cops, and then Bo Hopkins shows up, and it's game over. They take her back to the fifth floor, and Bo Hopkins like, I got you now, bitch. I'm gonna torture you. I'm gonna do everything to you. And he actually tries to drown her in the bathtub once he gets her back there. And it's just, all this stuff is just so, it gets more and more horrible as time goes on. And the fact that this was based on a true story. Now, there are some naysayers that I saw that did some written reviews that said that they thought that was bullshit, that it was based on true story. They said everybody says stuff's based on true story just to get people to get behind the movie and watch it and all that. But when somebody tells me it's based on a true story, I figure at least the majority of it's going to be based on a true story. Now, some of the characters might be combined, you know, into one character or something like that. We've seen that before. Some things may be overly dramatized. Some things may have not even happened. But when I see something that says this is based on a true story at the beginning, and then it actually has a bookend at the end, which this film did, which lets you know that eventually Kelly did get released from the fifth floor, and uh, her boyfriend had to get a court order in order to make that happen, but it did happen. But I was angry with the boyfriend in the movie because it's like he comes to see her at one time on the fifth floor, but they hurry up and make him leave. But he doesn't seem to fight for her as much as I thought he should, or fight for her rights at all. You know, not a right to party, but you know what I mean. Not like the Beastie Boys. Um, Carrie Fisher liked having it done, Coco. I guess I had never heard her talk about that. She felt it got her brain back on track. She was bipolar. I mean, perhaps it does help some people. I wouldn't know. I've never had it done, and I wouldn't wish to have it done just because I think it's cruel and inhumane treatment. But maybe that's because I'm outside of everything. But it just looks cruel. It looks harmful. But anything where they put, something in your mouth so you won't bite your own tongue or something like that. And essentially, it sends electrical impulses into your brain and makes you have a seizure. I don't know how that helps. I really don't. Yeah, I wouldn't want it done either, Coco. I definitely would not want it done. So I thought, again, Robert Englund was absolutely fantastic in this film. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect Benny in this film. And like I said, they didn't make him like overly insane or overly emotional. I don't even know if they really explained what his issues were. Perhaps he was wrongly put in there, just like Kelly was. He seemed to be a nice man who was a victim of circumstance, as Kelly was. And like I said, I don't recall them saying what his particular illness was, but he seems sane enough to me. So, but he was, this was lovable Robert Englund, and a really big contrast to roles he would do later, like A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy Krueger role, in several different of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and plus Freddy versus Jason. So yeah, again, the chemistry between him and Diane Hall in this movie was absolutely fantastic. And although the movie was great on its own, I know some people said it was like a bunch of cheesy, melodramatic bullshit. You know, I didn't feel like that. I felt like it was, what you doing, Steve? I was waiting for him to come knock on the door. Right. Oh. Y'all probably all saw Steve walk through. Right. So. Well, anyway, so because of all those things, I will give my rating here. He'll come in at some point. I will give my rating both on the film itself and Robert Englund's performance in it. And because of those things, I have to give it a 5 Deadites out of 5. I highly, highly recommend this movie if you've never seen it. Like I said, you can watch it on Plex, and it's pretty decent transfer. Don't be expecting 4K quality. Don't even be expecting Blu-ray quality, but it is decent. All right. So, moving right along to The Ordeal of Patty Hearst. Now, I was not fond of this movie. I don't know how many movies have been made that portrayed the Patty Hearst case and everything, but I felt like this one was just paint by the numbers, just melodramatic nonsense. And Robert Englund only had, a small part as an informer. And, for him being a patient in a mental hospital or on the psychiatric floor in the fifth floor, he seemed more sane in that than he did in this. And I don't think that was Robert Englund's fault. I think he did the best he could with what he had. But he seemed like a crazy old coot, and he wasn't that old when in his scene. And he was only in maybe a scene or two in this. The rest of it focused on the kidnapping of Patty Hearst and the, I guess, reprogramming of her and all that. Didn't really offer any sort of closure at the end of the film. And I don't know, maybe there really wasn't any closure with the Patty Hearst case. I am not like super ultra familiar with Patty Hearst. I know what happened, and they said it was, like Stockholm syndrome. She started to sympathize with her kidnappers and um, joined them essentially. And I don't know that anybody will ever understand everything that, oh boy, that went on regarding the Patty Hearst case. Okay, guys and gals, I am going to have to take myself out of the stream for a second and go get my dog because he's going ape. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I couldn't get Reggie back in, but the neighbors brought their dog in, so maybe he won't be tearing down the fence out there. Okay, so to get back to the movies, yeah, pretty much paint by the numbers, sort of melodramatic TV sort of film. And yeah, not really much to offer you in the way of any, Robert Englund was probably the best thing about it. And they didn't give him enough to do in it, and so yeah, not real pleased with this film. Um, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. So um, I think I would have to give this one a one because it. I thought for a little bit that maybe Robert Englund's performance could bump it up to a two, but I'm giving the one Deadite just for Robert Englund because the movie itself, I really don't see myself going back and watching it again, ever. Um, unless I'm really bored. So the last movie is Mind Over Murder, from 1979. You can watch this one on YouTube. The Ordeal of Patty Hearst. If you want to watch it, you can also watch it on YouTube as well. But Mind Over Murder, I had never seen this. I believe this was a made for TV film, but it was really, really creepy. And we had, uh, let's see, who all did we have in here? I don't, other than Robert Englund, of course, because we know it's a Robert Englund film. Bruce Davidson is in this, playing the boyfriend of the main character. I think I know the main woman's name, but Deborah Raffin. David Aykroyd was also in this, as well. It was directed by Ivan Nagy. Um, Robert Englund's in it quite a bit, but he does not get top billing, evidently. And David Aykroyd plays Ben Cushing in this. Deborah Raffin plays Susie, the main character. Andrew Prine is just referred to as the bald man, but he's the evil character in here. Robert Englund plays Ted Beasley. Bruce Davison plays Jason, the boyfriend. Um, and that's your like main characters. So what's this movie about? This movie starts out with what we're going to find out is a shot of something that's going to happen later in the film, almost at the end. Jay doesn't usually come on here for the Everybody Wants England shows, Wes. Um, Maybe you'll hear some more semen stories on the TMI 2 show tomorrow night. that's right, Super Batman Nerd. That's tomorrow night. But to get back to Mind Over Murder, after that scene, we get a scene that might seem a little hokey to a lot of you, which is uh, Deborah Raffin. We're introduced to her as a dancing cheeseburger in this commercial, and at the end of the commercial, she kind of busts out of the cheeseburger, and I am so sorry. This is so distracting. You better be good. They shouldn't have let you in here. Yeah. All right. So hopefully there won't be any more interruptions during this stream. I apologize. You think, Wes, you think it needs to be a Q&A TMI show? Well, I'm bringing it down a notch. My thing tomorrow night is I'm not going to talk about anything sexual. I'll just point blank tell you guys that right off. I've told all my TMI sex stories that I'm willing to tell. So mine will be other TMI stuff. Reg quit. Reggie. But anyway, I don't know exactly what Jay and Kathy are going to talk about. They may talk about some of that. You bet Jay will? Well, it's possible. But I'm going to get back to this Mind Over Murder movie. Um, so soon after, she notices like she's in this bar or something with a friend of hers, a coworker, and her friend is talking about some guy she's gonna date, and the guy happens to be in the bar with them, but not with them. He's at another table, and she wants Deborah Raven's character to of Susie. She wants Susie to look over and see if he's with another woman. It's kind of a little bit of a weird scene, but so she sees a bald guy, and this is Andrew Prine's character who will show up several times throughout the film. And as she's looking, everything just slows down until everybody's frozen, except the bald man who puts his hand up to his head like this. And I think this is probably Andrew Prine at his most sadistic looking. Um, but it's very weird. It's very weird watching it as well, because you almost feel like you're right there with Susie and you're experiencing this. So everything goes back to normal speed, and her friends like, what's wrong? And so, I mean, she can't really, describe what happened. So, like I said, this happens several more times in the movie, and what we begin to realize is when everything slows down and stops, she has premonitions about something that's going to happen. So she is in her boyfriend's apartment, and her boyfriend, of course, is played by Bruce Davison. He plays the character of Jason, and he's one of these workhorses, a workaholic. He works all the time and he spends very little time with her, but when he does spend time with her, they're close. But when she realizes that she's having these premonitions, he's like, "Oh, I don't believe that junk," and it causes a rift between the two in their relationship. And oh boy, things are going to go off the rails in here, because I see what I'm going to save all that for the TMI2 show tomorrow. But anyways, she goes downstairs at one point, and she's getting something to eat or getting something to drink or something, and she hears what appears to be two airline pilots talking to each other. And then she hears that the plane's in trouble. She hears it crash. She hears people screaming, and it freaks her out. And of course, yeah, I know everybody was vibing until Wes came in. But if I look at that stuff, I'm going to get all distracted. So anyway, she tries to tell Jason about it. He's like, that's all bull crap. He's not listening. And I begin to dislike Bruce Davidson's character very much so as the movie goes on, because he keeps, making this division between them until finally Susie leaves. She leaves his ass, which is probably what she should have done. But before then, she goes to see two guys, one played by Robert Englund, one played by David Aykroyd, who are investigating the airplane crash. And at first, they're kind of, uh, don't know what to think about, what she's saying. She said, I heard them talking in the cockpit, and then I heard the crash and all of that. And so they get the proverbial little black box or whatever. We've all heard of that when there's plane crashes. And Robert Englund's character of Ted Beasley is listening to it. And he hollers at the other guy. He says, come on over here. And he says, listen to this. Because we knew from an earlier scene that he recorded Susie relaying what she had heard. And it matches word for word. So they kind of have to believe at that point, right? And so she keeps trying to tell Jason, she keeps trying to tell him these are premonitions and it's very scary and she needs him to be there for her, and he further separates himself. They go out to have a good time with friends, and she has another premonition. Um, and the premonitions are getting more and more ominous. She actually sees the bald man killing a woman in a yellow dress. And so the character Cushing is starting to fall for Susie. And we all knew that was going to happen, especially if you're a woman. You knew that was going to happen. Because she essentially was falling out of love with Jason because he wasn't being there for her. He was being selfish. And so at some point in the film, she packs up her stuff, gets in a taxi, and unfortunately ends up in an area of town that she shouldn't be in. And she systematically ends up getting kidnapped by Andrew Prime, the bald man, who tells her what, because they found out in the meantime that a bomb was on the airplane. That's what caused it to crash. And that Andrew Prine had planted the bomb there, and that Ted and Cushing have security footage that shows this bald man. And, you know, everything that Susie's telling them is matching up and everything. And so the reason why the bald man put the bomb on the airplane is because he liked a stewardess that was on that airline. And she didn't love him. And he's a weirdo. And he's like, I don't understand why these women don't want me. Don't I look good and all this stuff? He's just, you know, just completely off the deep end. And when he first kidnaps her, he says, so what do you want to do first? Do you want to make love or do you want to die? Because both are going to happen at some point. So you might want to leave if you don't want to hear like how this ends. So I'll give a few seconds and then I'll explain. So Susie survives. Ted survives, Robert Englund's character. Cushing survives. He gets beat up pretty badly. She gets beat up pretty badly by the bald man. But at the end of the day, they all survive. And for a made-for-TV movie, I'll just point blank say I did not find anything wrong with this movie. I did see that somebody, JD, I think his name is, he did a review for like a bootleg copy because evidently, according to him, it had never come out on DVD. Maybe it is now, but not at the time that he did that review. He said it had been, you know, on television and the VHS was put out and all that. And like I said, you can watch it on YouTube. Not a very good print, and it's really muddy in the dark scenes. So just keep that in mind. But so just an excellent little movie, and I loved watching Robert Englund work in this because they definitely gave him enough to do in this movie. And Reggie, would you stop that? I swear that dog tonight. But I would have liked to seen a little more of Robert Englund in this movie. but I saw just enough of him to please me. So, and the acting I thought for everybody was top notch. Hey, Chris. Chris says, hi all, slash the like. Thank you, Chris. I always appreciate that. So, what am I going to give this one? Well, I'm going to have to give it a 5 as well. 5 Deadites out of 5. I say go and watch it on YouTube if you can. Like I said, it's not a pristine print or anything like that, and it is going to be muddy in the dark scenes. However, this is a movie, if you want to see a really good suspenseful movie that also has Robert Englund in a fair number of scenes, then watch Mind Over Murder. So, of the three of these, the Fifth Floor and Mind Over Murder are the top of the heap for me. The Ordeal, Patty Hearst, not so much. And they didn't have Robert Englund in it enough to bump it up from a 1. So, and they didn't give him enough to do in it. So, and I feel like Robert Englund, he has kept growing and getting better as an actor. And so, I think these filmmakers were doing themselves and Robert Englund an extreme disservice by not giving him parts where he could really shine. And I think he shined in the Fifth Floor, and I think he shined in Mind Over Murder. Yeah, I haven't been able to find the full version of it either, Super Batman Nerd. I don't know. If anybody ever finds the scenes that scenes that Robert Englund is in, and the courage and the passion, please tell me, because I really, really want to see it. The movie itself wasn't that good, but I'd really like to see his scenes in it. Or maybe if there's just one scene, I'd like to see it. And I see everybody was talking about cereal. But I could maybe stay on here till 9 if y'all want to ask me anything or comment on any of these movies. If y'all have seen any of these. And I will remind you that next Tuesday I'll be covering California Fever, Dead and Buried, and Galaxy of Terror. We still got a few more of these before we actually get to the Nightmare on Elm Street films. That's right, Sir Baviner. I think it's off to Lost Media as well. Flown through the black hole of Lost Media. Coco, you say cracks me up that there's that tiny scene in Chud 2 with Robert Englund. And I'm sure I have it on here somewhere. Because I'm trying to cover everything. What year was Chud 2, by the way? I hope I have that. 89? Huh. You know what? I don't have that on here. And I went through all of his movies on IMDb. Joe Brandon Nerd, you say it's like 5 seconds. He's saying the kid trick or treating. Man, I'm going to have to go back and bring up his filmography again. How could they have missed that one? Or maybe I just missed it when I was writing all these down. Let's scroll through here. Hmm. You know, they don't have this on his filmography on IMDb. That's very strange. Let me bring up. Usually IMDb nowadays doesn't screw up that bad. Chud to Bud the Chud. Let's look and see if maybe they don't even have him listed in the credits on IMDb for Chud 2. Oh, this is very perplexing. They don't even have him listed as uncredited. So they say, if I guess this must be under the trivia. Robert Englund makes an uncredited cameo appearance as a trick-or-treater. So that's weird. Usually they'll put them in the credits on down, when they have an uncredited thing. But it's under the trivia. So that's very, very, very strange. But I'm going to make sure. And it is indeed 89. So if y'all come up with any more that maybe I don't cover, be sure to let me know. I think what I will do is week 13, I will just add an additional one and talk a little bit about Chud too. Because we don't want to miss any of these. Right? Or I don't want to miss any. All right. But thank you guys and gals for letting me know about that. It's like 5 seconds to remember. Coco, you said he might as well have been a fire hydrant. You say not that he should have been pissed on, but he was just scenery, really. Well, I still want to cover all the Robert Englund appearances, whether it's 5 seconds or what. Super Batman Nerd, you say Garrett Graham, who plays Bud the Chud, was in My Girl 2 and Phil the foster father in Child's Play 2. Yes, he was. I like Garrett Graham as well, Coco. But now that we got the confusion, or I got my confusion over with Chud 2, Bud the Chud, I guess I'm going to call it a night because I went on for about an hour today or tonight. And I want to thank everybody that joined me tonight for another Everybody Wants England. So be sure to join me, Jay, and Kathy tomorrow starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, tomorrow night for the TMI 2 show, because who knows what kind of things we'll bring up. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, great live, Dana. And also be sure to tune in for midday with our Seductive Poison, the Resurgence, where I'm going to do a triple threat review show. Also, midday with Dana and Jay, Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time. And the watch-alongs, Saturday and Sunday, for Fam of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, and Play Misty for me. And also the movie Munchies at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday for You're Gonna Need a Bigger Zucchini Boat. So we got all that upcoming. And I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for now. But I will see everybody next time. Y'all have a great night. And I'll see you tomorrow night for TMI 2. Don't miss it.